This program is about hackers, the computer wizards who in just a decade created both a multi-billion-dollar industry and a cultural phenomenon. Already millions of personal computers are changing our daily lives at work, at school, and at home. At the touch of a button, you can now correct a letter without retyping it, recalculate complex financial projections, or send electronic mail across the world. Hundreds of programs let you manage your money, draw on your screen, teach your kids to type, and play shoot-'em-ups or adventure games. One longtime supporter of hackers is Stuart Brand, editor of the Whole Earth catalogs.
They are shy, sweet, incredibly brilliant, and I think more effective in pushing the culture around now in good ways than almost any group I can think of.
To make his point, Brand invited 100 top computer designers to an exclusive hackers conference in this secluded campsite north of San Francisco.
Anybody wants breakfast, now's the time.
Despite bad weather and crude living conditions, the camp was a true hacker heaven. Well stocked with plenty of computer toys and, of course, enough candy and soda to last through the night. But the real purpose of the get-together was to discuss the unique set of values that made the computer revolution possible and brainstorm about its future.
My political platform is that we need an electronic declaration of independence.
My project is to make all software free.
I want to talk to people who are interested in taking high school kids and turning them into us.
There's also a good opportunity to set the record straight on what hackers really stand for.
They do not have so much the normal friends to distract them, other activities to go to. They don't generally have girlfriends. Anything that's going to need a large attachment, commitment of their time, the computer is it and only it.
Andy Hertzfeld is perhaps the best example of the modern-day hacker, driven by the same pure spirit as his predecessors, yet working within a commercial framework. He designed his latest hack in one weekend, just in time for the conference.
So my hack for the Hackers Conference is this program that allows you to switch very quickly between programs on the Mac. And I have it set up here so you can switch between them in less than a second's worth of time. If you're doing something like this, it could take as much as a minute to get in before. When it takes so long, you think, oh, maybe it's not worth it to include that extra little graphic embellishment in my letter. But if you can switch between it without even thinking about it, then you'll go to that extra trouble to make your letter look a little nicer.
A few months later, Hertzfeld sold his program to Apple for a flat $100,000. But money wasn't the reason he came up with this hack in the first place. Instead, it was
just the fun and joy of seeing your programs working, going from an idea to the realization of the idea, and actually seeing it work. A lot of fun.
Sweet.
Richard Stallman has been called the last pure hacker for choosing to remain at MIT despite the temptations of the commercial world, true to the spirit of the early hackers.
What they had in common was mainly love of excellence in programming. They wanted to make their programs that they used be as good as they could. They also wanted to make them do neat things. They wanted to be able to do something in a more exciting way than anyone believed possible and show, look how wonderful this is. I bet you didn't believe this could be done.
Philosophical phone freaks and early hackers believed that information and tools should be free, or at least available to serious seekers, and they openly shared their work with others. Some argue that the computer revolution could not have happened without that hacker ethic. But today, hackers are divided between the old values and the new. They can't agree whether source codes, the basic blueprints of a program, should be shared or not.
Tools I will give away to anybody, but the product, that's my soul is in that product. I don't want anyone fooling with that. I don't want anyone hacking into that product and changing it, because then it won't be mine.
Imagine if you bought a house and the basement was locked and only the original building contractor had the key. If you needed to make any change, repair anything, you had to go to him. And if he was too busy doing something else, he'd tell you to get lost and you'd be stuck.
It's like somebody saying, looking at a painting and saying, well, I don't like that color over there, so I'll just take a can of paint and change it. That wrecks the whole painting. okay, that changes everything that I did. And that to me is one of the greatest insults.
You're at that person's mercy, and you become downtrodden and resigned. That's what happens when the blueprints to a computer program are kept secret by the organization that sells it. And that's the usual way things are done.
Copy protection and software piracy are now big issues for hackers because with today's technology, anyone can copy in less than a minute a program that might have taken thousands of hours to create. In keeping with the hacker's spirit, several authors have come up with interesting solutions to this problem. They're called freeware or shareware, software you can copy and try for free. You pay only if you decide you like it.
The reason I started was because I finished this program, I was going to send it out, and I knew that I didn't have a prayer of coming up with a copy protection scheme that some kid in San Diego was going to break the first night.
The late Andrew Flugelman, author of a free communications program called PC Talk, made pretty good money giving away his freeware, then charging $35 per satisfied user for support and updated versions.
I tell people that whether they like it or not, give it to a friend, and if their friend likes it, then maybe they'll send me some money. I would guess that about 1/10 of the people who are using the program now have paid for it. And there are a lot of commercial software companies that can't make that claim.
Another channel for the free exchange of information is now available on various computer networks and electronic bulletin boards nationwide. By dialing these systems through a simple phone hookup called a modem, users can send and receive messages in seconds and chat with others thousands of miles away.
This is what I uploaded to the source last night. I mean, I was doing this. Already some people on the source organized a conference about the Hackers Convention, called John Draper, who ran up to me, and we sat down and wrote it, and this was on there last night, and by this morning there were already 15 comments from other people across the country about what was going on here, including questions that were fed back.
David Hughes, nicknamed Source Void Dave, operates a very popular electronic bulletin board in Colorado Springs.
I use it for politics, very heavy. I've been able to organize the defeat of an ordinance in the city of Colorado Springs. As a consequence, every politician in Colorado Springs calls my bulletin board to defend themselves against what other people are saying, and they're arguing with 10-year-old kids. So it's healthy electronic democracy.
But electronic democracy also has its price. With so many channels of information available to the consumer, even the most dedicated hobbyists are now experiencing information overload.
What's going to happen next is there's going to be so much information that we won't be able to have, it won't be really available to us because we're overwhelmed with it.
There's been too much stuff created, which society did not have a need for that much of that kind of information. I think there are even too many computer people and computer hackers now. Too many people creating too many pieces of software and pieces of hardware to be useful, and that shows up in the fact that more money has been lost in personal computers by companies than has been made by winners.
Some believe that the next breakthroughs will be triggered by the introduction of compact laser discs that can hold up to 600 million characters, or the equivalent of 4 copies of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Imagine using your computer to help you be able to ask, why do light bulbs burn out? And you see a picture of a light bulb and sort of other nodes of information you can just touch on and say, you know, just browse and steer through a large amount of information in a pleasant and enjoyable way. I mean, can you imagine a person now reading an encyclopedia cover to cover? Doesn't happen. But people spend hours and hours playing adventure, exploring some imaginary information. Well, if it were pleasurable and enjoyable to explore real live all human knowledge, suddenly you've got a very powerful learning tool where I can afford to take the time to find out why light bulbs burn out. I still don't know.
Late in the night, another vision of the future came true at the conference. This bizarre hack had one side of the audience compete against the other by averaging the action of the players' joysticks to make them play as one, turning an ordinary video game into an unusual team sport. It's that kind of passion and playful cleverness that once sparked the computer revolution and brought the hackers' dreams to life.
We got it, go! All right, go, 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 go!
Outside the beaten path, at the cutting edge of new technology, the hacker spirit lives on. And for millions of new computer users, the adventure is just beginning.